Canada had a big election yesterday. Now, we talked about it, but the exit polls were fascinating. Yes, the Conservative Party did lose, and the Liberals are going to have the Prime Minister's office for the next several years, or at least until their next called election. But get this from the exit polling. Half of Canadian boomers, people over the age of 60, their top priority was dealing with President Trump. Now, when you ask, well, what about the price of living? Only 35% of people over 60 in Canada actually cared about that as their top priority. On the other end of it, people 18 to 29, only 15% of them cared about Trump at all. No, their main concern, overwhelmingly, half of them was, well, the price of living. In other words, it was the old liberal boomers that threw the election to the Liberals, not because of anything going on in Canada, but specifically because of President Trump. Let's bring our panel back. Elizabeth Barkohana and Anthony Raimondi join us. Elizabeth, I want to start with you. Is TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, spread so far that it is the number one priority in probably the biggest voting bloc in other countries?
It's more contagious than COVID. It's a global pandemic, TDS. And what the Canadian election was to me is a huge warning sign for California, because we have an important election coming up in 2026. We're going to elect a new governor, and we also have a huge percentage or proportion of our electorate is over the age of 65. Most of those people are liberal women. And talk about, cut off your nose to spite your face. Like, this generation has been selling out the generations behind or ahead of them, the younger generations than them, for decades. That's just how they operate. And they're emotional voters, and they're easily manipulated. If you tell them that President Trump is coming after your Medicare and your benefits, they did the same thing in Canada. They were campaigning on President Trump is coming after us in Canada. And they believe them, even though it's the truth is exactly the opposite. So this is what happened in Canada is so stupid, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen here in California, because California politics is also so stupid.
I laugh, and at the same time, I hate the fact that I happen to live in the worst laboratory of democracy that is California. Anthony, Elizabeth brought up a good point. Is Trump Derangement Syndrome the next pandemic? And because of that, can the administration leverage emergency powers to do all the things we want in the same way that President Biden did in the less contagious COVID? I don't know if I could get through this. Your thoughts, Anthony, is TDS an epidemic?
100% boomers have TDS to the full. I thought it was Gen Z at first, but now the Conservative Party is so much more cool, and like Gen Z has really come around with podcasts and comedians and all this stuff. Look, I never heard of anybody wanting to vote against something in another country when it's not beneficial to your own country. Like, you literally voted for higher taxes, okay? You're voting for somebody that has no chance of fighting Donald Trump in your tariff war. So, but that's okay. We don't like Donald Trump, so we're gonna vote for a Liberal Party. That's just fine. All I have to say is, I don't know, DC Drano said it best today. I don't really know if I want them to be the 51st state, because they just showed us that they're willing to do this over and over and over again and just beat themselves up. I really don't want those voters here in the United States. I don't know about y'all, but I'm good.
Yeah, that's always been the when we're joking about Canada becoming the 51st state, and I think everybody recognizes that we're joking, including the Trump administration. Yeah, the only big downside is that they're going to vote poorly, and we don't want that. And so, yeah, go ahead and stay up there and have your terrible healthcare system and all the other bad things that Canada has.